The Galactic Council meeting was already running late. Ambassadors from 50 different species argued loudly, throwing insults in over 20 languages. In the middle of the shouting, an alarm echoed through the main chamber. A red hologram appeared in the air above them, blinking fast. Unknown fleet entering neutral space. The automated voice said. Everyone turned toward the center screen. A small fleet appeared, slowly crossing the border of council space. It looked pathetic. The ships were small, rusty, and uneven in shape. Some of them looked like they were built out of scrap. Others seemed to be falling apart already. One ship even had smoke coming from its engine. What kind of joke is this? Laughed the Korgan ambassador, his 3 mouths all cackling at once. Looks like someone's flying garbage out here, the Scolari diplomat added, sipping her sweet acid drink. Even the normally calm Vraxi leader couldn't help but grin. Is this someone's art project? The laughter spread across the chamber. Screens showed close-ups of the so-called fleet. One had rusted panels, another had visible duct tape holding its wing in place. A few species began placing bets on how long the ships would last before falling apart. Only one figure didn't laugh, Ambassador Wren, an older alien from the deeply logical and neutral planet Zelmer, leaned forward, squinting. His fingers trembled as he zoomed in on a faded symbol on one ship's hull. At first, it looked like a scratch, but then he saw it clearly, a blue planet with white swirls, surrounded by 13 tiny stars. His face turned pale. He whispered almost too softly, "Terran markings." The laughter stopped. Everyone turned toward him, confused. "What did you say?" asked the Korgan again, his voice not so loud now. Wren stood up slowly, his voice louder now. "These ships, they belong to Earth, to the Terrans." For a moment, there was silence. Then gasps filled the chamber. "But Earth is a myth," someone whispered. "No one has heard from them in over 300 years, another said. "I thought they destroyed themselves." Someone else added. Wren shook his head. "No, they were never destroyed. They just disappeared. And now they are back." Panic started to ripple through the chamber. The joking atmosphere vanished instantly. The council leader tried to restore order, but no one listened anymore. Too many were now focused on the screen, where the junk fleet slowly came closer. No communication, no signals, just silence. The Galactic Patrol sent a scan. Strangely, it bounced back. It couldn't pierce the Terran hulls. That shouldn't be possible. These ships looked like flying metal cans, but they blocked military scans like top-tier warships. "Should we hail them?" asked the council leader, his voice uncertain. Ambassador Wren responded firmly. "Do not provoke them." "But we must know why they've come," someone protested. Wren's eyes didn't leave the screen. "Then ask nicely." A signal was sent, a peaceful message, standard greeting in 17 languages. No response came. Instead, one of the small Terran ships blinked. Its lights changed color from red to white, then slowly to deep blue. Suddenly, the council's main translation AI picked up a short audio transmission. A human voice, male, calm and deep, spoke just 2 words: "We remember." Then silence again. Those 2 words echoed louder than any Warkri ever had. Ambassadors stared at each other in fear. What did they remember? What had the galaxy forgotten? The Terran ships came to a stop just outside Council Station 12. No weapons powered up, no demands sent. They simply waited like quiet watchers, and that made them even more terrifying because deep down, every ambassador in that room knew the last time humans arrived quietly. A dozen empires fell within a year, but that was long ago, and history had erased the full truth. Now they were back, and this time, they had come without noise, without fire, just a tiny fleet drifting through space. A fleet that looked weak on the outside, but inside, no one knew what secrets they carried. The alien leaders huddled together. Should they respond with strength or fear? Send more ships or back away? No one knew what the Terrans wanted. But one thing was clear. The galaxy wasn't laughing anymore. And the Terrans hadn't even spoken again, not yet. The Terran fleet stayed silent for 3 long hours. They floated just outside Council Station 12. They made no demands, sent no messages, and showed no aggression. Just quiet, steady presence. It made everyone nervous. Ships that looked like junk should not feel so threatening, yet they did, Captain. Vor of the Jernak Empire watched from his ship, Blade of Flame. He scoffed, arms crossed, eyes locked on the screen. His crew sat tense, but Vor only saw weakness. Terrans? He growled. Those are fairy tales, meant to scare hatchlings. He slammed his fist down. We are the Jernak, born for battle. We will not bow to ghosts. He ordered a single warning shot. A small plasma bolt, carefully aimed to pass near. The largest Terran ship not to hit, just to warn. His crew hesitated. Captain, are you sure? Council has... Fire, Vor snapped. The plasma bolt launched from the Jernak ship with a bright red flash. It shot through the space between. Heading near the Terran vessel, aliens across the station gasped as it passed by the front hull. Of the biggest Terran ship, the shot did not hit, but that was the mistake for the first time. The Terran ship moved, not fast, not wildly, it simply blinked. 1 second it was there, the next it was behind the Jernak ship. Vor jumped from his seat, shouting, "How did they?" But his words were cut off by screams from the crew. All screens in the Jernak ship went dark, the engines shut down, the lights turned red, and then silence. Back on Council Station 12, diplomats watched in horror. One moment the Blade of Flame was drifting strong, the next it was just still. Then it began to glow, faint blue light spreading across its hull. No fire, no explosion, no damage, just light. Suddenly, it vanished, gone, completely erased from space, as if it had never existed. The room fell quiet, even the boldest. Ambassadors froze, eyes wide in shock. Ambassador Wren whispered, "Not even the Vraxi annihilators can do that," someone else added. "No known weapon leaves no debris." Another voice spoke shakily. "Did the Terrans erase them from reality?" Before anyone could answer, a message appeared on the Council's main screen. It came from the Terran ship, simple text. First and last warning. No signature, no explanation, just those words. The Council went into emergency mode. Alarms blared, ambassadors yelled, and fleets across multiple sectors were placed on alert. But no one dared fire again. Ambassador Zever of the Lithari Republic stood up. His long robe shimmered as he moved to the center platform. He raised his voice. "To speak, we must not panic. Terrans are still organic, still limited. They cannot possess such godlike power." The Terran ship responded instantly. It sent one image. A single photo showing the Jernak ship, still floating but inside a glass sphere. Like a toy trapped in a bottle. The crew inside still moved, still alive, but trapped, unable to escape, suspended in what looked like frozen time. Zyver fell silent. Everyone stared at the image. The meaning was clear. We didn't destroy them, the Terrans were saying. We simply removed them. A deep chill settled over the Council. This was worse than destruction. Destruction was expected. This was control beyond understanding. The Terran fleet did not move again. They simply returned to their original positions, as if nothing had happened. No shields activated. No weapons raised, just floating again. Silent watchers in the stars. Ambassador Wren turned to the others. "This is not a show of war," he said. "It's a reminder." He looked toward the Terran fleet. "They want us to know something, without killing us." The Council leader asked quietly, "Then what do we do?" Wren answered, "We listen." Some still wanted to fight. The Zeker Dominion sent 6 warships closer, claiming they were unafraid. But their ships malfunctioned before crossing the invisible line near the Terran border. Engines shut down. Lights failed, comms jammed. They had to tow their vessels back with shame. That night, across the galaxy, the news spread. Terran junk fleet removes Jernak battleship with no effort. Fleet smaller than a moon destroys pride of empire. Who are the Terrans, and why did they return now? The galaxy had 100 questions, but the Terrans gave no answers, only silence, and that silence was the loudest message of all. The Terran fleet did not move, not after the Jernik ship vanished, not after the Zeker warships failed to approach. They just floated silent, still, unreadable, like statues watching the galaxy hold its breath. But not everyone was afraid. Some were curious, some were foolish, and one of them was Captain Drex of the Zorak Intelligence Network. He was a spy, a shadow in the dark, trained in infiltration, manipulation, and survival. He believed no ship was perfect, no secret too deep, and he believed the Terrans were bluffing, just tricks and illusions, no real power. He wanted proof. So the Zorak High Council approved his mission, unofficially. Drex would sneak aboard one of the Terran ships, scan it, copy data, return. Simple, in theory. He used a stealth pod with void coating, undetectable by most sensors. The pod was small, barely big enough for one person. It approached slowly, hugging debris, pretending to be junk. It slipped between sensor nets, or so he thought. Drex landed silently on the smallest Terran ship. Its hull was cold, strange, like touching frozen metal and glass at once. No alarms, no defenses triggered. He smiled. So much for Terran tech, he muttered. He activated his breach tool, a silent cutter that opened a small hole. He crawled inside, ready for tight corridors. Dark passages, maybe crew patrols. But what he saw inside made him freeze. The ship was massive. From outside, it looked like a small gunship, but inside, it was bigger than a city block. Clean, glowing walls stretched endlessly. Floating platforms hovered above bottomless chambers. It was like stepping into a living machine built. By gods, Drex's breathing turned heavy. This wasn't technology, it was something else. He activated his scanner, but it showed nothing. No walls, no rooms, no readings. As if the ship didn't exist, he took a cautious step. The floor lit up under his foot. He looked around. No doors, no lights, no sounds. Yet something watched him. He could feel it. Who's there? He whispered. No answer. Then, a voice entered his mind, soft and clear. You do not belong here. He pulled out his weapon, shaking. Show yourself. He shouted, but the ship didn't answer the way he expected. Instead, it changed. Walls shifted, folding in and out like lid. Ceilings turned to glass, showing stars swirling in impossible patterns. A hallway appeared in front of him, lined with symbols he couldn't understand. His scanner started to overheat, then melted in his hand. He screamed and dropped it. The voice returned. You seek answers, little shadow. Let us show you truth. The floor disappeared, and Drex fell, not to his death, but into light. He landed on a platform, surrounded by floating memories, videos, images, sound, scenes of old wars, destroyed empires, burning planets. Terran fleets rising from dust, surviving the impossible, making enemies vanish without firing a shot. Entire armadas surrendering before even seeing a human face. Drex covered his eyes. No, this can't be real. But the ship whispered again. This is why we were erased from history. Fear is a stronger weapon than fire. He tried to run back, tried to find the hole he'd entered through, but it was gone, sealed, forgotten. The ship had no doors anymore, no exit. He was trapped. His panic reached the Zorak control ship. They heard his final transmission. Help me. The ship, it's alive. It sees me. The feed cut off. All Zorak ships pulled back immediately, no questions asked. The Council demanded answers. But Zorak leaders refused to speak. They only sent a simple report. Do not board Terran ships. The Terrans sent no apology, no message. They had let Drex enter, and they had kept him. Back on the Council floor, Ambassador Wren held the new data in shaking hands. He said to the others, "This changes everything." One Vraxi commander argued. "It's just one spy," Wren replied coldly. "No, it's one truth. These ships are bigger on the inside. They defy space, and worse. They are aware, a young diplomat whispered. Then, they're not just ships, Ren nodded slowly. They are something else. Rumors spread faster than light. Stories about living ships, time-bending halls, and talking walls. People began calling them ghost ships, star spirits, sentinels of Earth. But one thing was now clear to everyone. The Terran fleet was not junk. It was a mystery wrapped in fear, and somewhere inside that smallest ship, Captain Drek still walked through endless halls, watched by something far older than any star, trapped in a vessel that should not exist. The Terran fleet had still not moved. Days had passed since the Jernek ship vanished, since the Zorak spy disappeared inside the smallest ship, since fear spread like wildfire across the stars. But no words came from the humans. Not a single message until today. It started with a simple ping, one soft tone, almost like a heartbeat. It echoed through every communication array near the council station. No one knew where it came from at first. No signal code, no source ID, just sound. Then, every screen across the station lit up. Even private ones locked devices. Personal pads, military terminals, all displayed one phrase in bold white text. To the galaxy. The council chamber fell quiet. Ambassadors froze mid-sentence. Technicians stared at screens in disbelief. The message came from Earth, that long-forgotten blue world on the edge of nothing. A soft voice followed, speaking in standard galactic language. The voice was calm, slow, and very human. We do not come to conquer. We do not come to kneel. We come to remember. The chamber held its breath. Every translator activated across the galaxy. Billions listened as the Terran voice continued. Long ago, your kind hunted us, feared us, erased us. You forgot us. But we did not forget you, aliens. Stared at each other. Some felt ashamed, some confused, some angry. But no one dared interrupt the message. We watched from the dark. We rebuilt in silence. And now, we return not to rule, but to remind you. Then the message paused. For a moment, only silence. Then came a sentence that changed everything. This is not a threat. This is a mirror. Look into it and ask yourselves what you've become. The screens went black. No follow-up, no command. Just silence once again. But this silence felt different. Not empty, but full, like a final word after a long story. The council erupted into chaos. Some ambassadors called for peace. Others called for war. Some wanted to send diplomats. Others wanted to hide behind planetary shields. Ambassador Wren stood up and spoke. Do you not see? That was not a war speech. It was a warning, not about humans, but about us. The Korgan delegate slammed his claw into the table. They mock us. They threaten us without weapons. But the Lithari diplomat replied quietly, no. They don't need weapons, because they already know they are feared. In secret meetings, many worlds began upgrading defenses. Others tried sending peaceful messages to the Terran fleet, but no reply came. Only that same soft ping once a day, like a clock counting something down. Meanwhile, traders stopped going near Earth space. Explorers turned their ships in the opposite direction. News channels played the message again and again. People across the stars debated endlessly. Are humans returning as monsters or saviors? Some species remembered old stories, tales of Terran loyalty, Terran rage, Terran sacrifice. But no records remained. Most were erased during the last council purge. Only fragments existed now, and those fragments scared even the bravest warriors. The real question no one wanted to ask was, what had the Terrans seen while hiding in the shadows all this time? What had they become? On the other side of the galaxy, an old soldier from the Varkan Wars sat in silence. He had seen a Terran once. When he was young, he remembered the eyes calm, cold, and sharp like glass. The soldier whispered to himself, they never forgot. We just hoped they did. The council sent a request, a formal invitation to speak, to negotiate, to meet face to face. They offered gifts, promises, even council seats. But the Terran fleet did not answer. No message came back until one screen flickered. A single word appeared. Observe. Moments later, stars shifted. New footage appeared not from any known camera, but from hidden locations across the galaxy. Secret prisons, slave mines, corrupt governments, all caught in perfect detail. The Terrans had been watching the galaxy, and they were showing the galaxy to itself, its crimes, its shame, its rot, broadcast on every screen. No filter, no edits. Ambassadors stared in horror. Some saw their own crimes shown live. Others realized their secrets were no longer safe. The message from Earth had never been about war. It had been about truth, and now the truth was everywhere. The galaxy was on edge. For days, no one had seen a Terran move. Not a single ship had powered weapons, launched probes, or fired shots, and yet, across hundreds of worlds, panic grew. Leaders begged for answers. Armies were placed on high alert. And rumors spread like wildfire. The Terrans are planning something. They're already inside our systems. Maybe they're not even human anymore. But the Terrans did nothing, just floated, waited, and watched. Until one man decided he had enough. His name was Lord General Craddock of the Greylax Dominion, and he believed in power, only power. Craddock was not afraid of Terrans. He believed they were bluffing, tricks, illusions. Old stories made bigger with time, so he gathered a fleet, not just any fleet, but the Spear of Greylax 200 warships, heavily armed, freshly upgraded, ready to show the galaxy who was still in charge. We will remind Earth who rules now. Craddock shouted, his crew cheered. They believed in him. They believed in firepower. As the fleet approached the Terran zone, broadcasts lit up. News channels streamed it live. Billions watched in suspense. Would the Terrans respond? Would they run? Would they fight? The Greylax fleet entered the sector slowly. Weapons charged, shields raised. Terran ships did not move. The same junk fleet, just drifted silent, old-looking, broken in places. At least that's what Craddock thought. He opened a direct channel, speaking loud and clear. This is Lord General Craddock of the Greylax Dominion. You will surrender your fleet immediately and submit to Council regulation. You have 1 minute to comply, or we will erase you. No reply, just that heavy Terran silence. The kind that made your chest tighten. Craddock laughed. Cowards. All. Bark, no bite. He raised his hand. Target their flagship, he ordered. Fire everything now. Greylax ships unleashed their full power. Missiles, beams, torpedoes, more than enough to wipe out a small moon. The weapons lit the sky, closing in on the Terran ships, and then everything stopped, not slowed, not dodged, stopped. All weapons froze mid-flight, suspended in space like someone pressed pause. Missiles hovered, beams froze, torpedoes halted mid-spin. Gasps echoed across every viewing ship. Craddock's fleet began to panic. What's happening? Why aren't the weapons moving? Are we under attack? Then came the second shock. The weapons turned around, slowly, silently. They faced the Greylax ships. Their own missiles, their own beams, their own torpedoes, now pointed back at them. Before Craddock could scream an order, a voice echoed across. All ships, all comms, all systems, do not test what you do not understand. It was the same human voice, calm and cold, but this time there was something beneath it, something ancient, something unshakable. It was not a threat, it was a fact. The weapons fired, not from Terran ships, from Greylax ships at themselves. The entire fleet exploded into chaos. Fire and metal tore through their own hulls. Shields failed instantly. Command systems collapsed within 42 seconds. Half the fleet was gone, the other half disabled, drifting, no longer a threat. Not a single Terran ship had moved. Not one had fired, and yet the most powerful warfleet in the sector was gone. The galaxy watched in silence. News feeds cut to black. No words could describe what had just happened. One caption appeared on every screen. Battle duration, 42 seconds. Terran casualties, 0. In the council chamber, ambassadors stared in horror. The Lithari diplomat whispered. They didn't fight us. They just let us destroy ourselves, the Zikr envoy growled. That's impossible. No fleet has that kind of control. Ambassador Wren didn't speak. He was watching something else zooming in on the Terran ships, he found it. A small glow under each ship, barely visible, not engines, not weapons, some kind of field, technology that bent reality. Or replaced it. They're not flying ships. Wren whispered, they're flying laws. Rules that don't follow ours. Space bends for them, and we are still playing with fire. Meanwhile, on a hidden moon far from the council, a small human girl sat beside a window. She looked up at the stars. She held a small communicator in her hands. Did it work? She asked softly, a deep voice replied from the other end. They're listening now. The galaxy was shaken. What happened to the Greylax fleet was not a battle, it was a message. The Terrans had made their point without even moving, but the question still burned across every star system. How? How could ships that looked like scrap erase entire fleets in seconds? What kind of power hides behind rusted panels and silence? One answer came from a forgotten corner of the galaxy, from a cold archive on a dead moon. The place was locked, marked, classified, level black. No one had entered for centuries, until today. Archivist Ven, a quiet worker from the Shalari Union, was assigned to check old files. He expected boring records, fuel reports, cargo logs, star charts, but while sorting through ancient data cores, he found something strange. A file sealed with warning codes in red, marked with two simple words, Earth, danger. He opened it. The screen flickered, dust in the air, and then hundreds of files unlocked, videos, battle reports, intercepted signals, photos from destroyed planets. The deeper he went, the more terrified he became. One report showed a council invasion from 600 years ago. 12 empires had joined forces. Their target, Earth. Their reason, unknown, maybe fear, maybe greed, maybe both. But what mattered was this. None of those empires exist anymore. Every fleet that attacked Earth vanished within weeks. One by one, planets fell silent, not from explosions or invasions, but from absence. Cities emptied overnight. Ships disappeared without trace. Weapons turned to dust. Leaders went mad, whispering about the eyes, the Sky Watchers, the echo in the dark. Ven trembled as he watched a video from the last surviving ship. A captain screamed into the camera, "They're not fighting us, they're changing reality. Do not look at them. Do not speak their name." Then the footage went black. The very next file was titled, Order 17, Erase Human History. It was signed by the old Council High Seat. The order was clear: remove all data on Earth, ban the study of Terran history, erase their name from galactic memory. Why? Because fear must be forgotten to keep peace, the order said. Ven backed away from the screen. His hands shook, his breath short. He copied the files to a hidden drive and fled the archive. The truth had to be known, but he knew the moment he shared it, everything would change, and it did. That night, the files leaked onto the galactic net. All 783 reports, across every system. People saw the truth. Humans hadn't disappeared, they were erased, not because they were weak, but because they were too strong, too unpredictable, too dangerous. The council panicked. Meetings were held behind closed doors. Some wanted to declare war. Others wanted to surrender quietly. A few even considered hiding again, hoping the Terrans would leave if ignored. But it was too late. Fear had returned, this time stronger than before, because now everyone knew what had really happened 600 years ago, and more importantly, they knew the Terrans never forgot. On the screen of every war command post, a message appeared again. We remember. The words meant something different now, not just a quiet reminder, but a warning. We were kind once, and you buried us for it. Ambassador Wren stood in front of the full council the next morning. The chamber was quiet, all eyes on him. He held up a printed copy of Ven's discovery. This is not just history, he said. This is the reason we are still alive. He looked at them all. Terrans are not here to conquer, he said. They are here to show us what we tried to bury. They let us live to see it. Someone shouted. Then we should prepare for war, Ren replied. Against what? Against ships that move without moving? Against minds that erase empires without weapons? Against people we once feared so much we erased their name? Silence followed. No one had an answer. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Terran fleet moved for the first time in days, just slightly, just 1 degree, but enough to show that they were not stuck. They were waiting, watching, and deciding. Somewhere aboard the largest Terran ship, a child pressed her hand to the window. She looked out at the stars and whispered, "Are they ready yet?" A voice behind her replied gently, "No, little one, not yet. They still think it's about war." The stars had gone quiet. No more fleets approached the Terran ships. No more demands were shouted across channels. The galaxy had seen too much, and now it watched in fear. The tiny Terran fleet, once laughed at, once mocked, drifted gently through council-controlled space. They didn't fire. They didn't speak. They didn't even show their faces, and yet entire governments began to change. Old empires called for emergency meetings. Leaders resigned, military bases quietly shut down, and for the first time in history, planets that hated each other agreed on something. Don't provoke the humans, on the main diplomatic channel. The council tried one last time. They sent a new message: calm, respectful, careful. Terran fleet, we recognize your sovereignty. We offer alliance, recognition, and peaceful trade. Please accept our invitation to discuss future cooperation. For the first time in weeks, a reply came. The Terrans didn't speak. They just sent coordinates, a time, and one sentence: come as you are, or not at all. Panic filled the chamber. Who should go? What should they bring? Gifts? Ships? Escorts? Ambassador Ren stood up. "I will go alone," he said. "They already know us better than we know ourselves. If they wanted war, we'd already be dead." And so, the oldest and calmest among them boarded a single shuttle. No guards, no weapons, just him, a translator pad, and a soft heart pounding in his chest. As he approached the Terran fleet, something strange happened. His ship lost all controls, but it didn't crash. Instead, it slowed gently, then docked itself perfectly, like the ship knew where he was meant to go. The doors opened to silence, no guards, no lights, just a long corridor glowing softly. He walked slowly, carefully, until he reached the center of the ship, and there, he found them. A small group of humans stood waiting, not in armor, not in uniforms, but in simple clothes, young, old, some with scars, some with smiles. One woman held a child. One man leaned on a cane. They were not warriors. They were reminders. The man with the cane spoke first. "You erased us," he said calmly. "Not just from books, but from memory. You feared. You asked so much. You made yourselves forget." Ren nodded. "Yes." He didn't make excuses. He didn't beg. He simply said, "And I am sorry." The child stepped forward. She looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Why are you afraid?" she asked. Ren bent down slowly and said, "Because we don't understand you." The woman with the child nodded. "That's fair," she said. "We are different now." Then the walls changed. Screens lit up around them, showing the galaxy. All of it. Planets, trade routes, black markets, corrupt rulers, secret wars. The Terrans had seen it all, not with spies, not with drones, but with something else. We watched. The man with the cane said, "Not to judge, but to decide if you were ready to face yourselves." Ren asked softly, "Are we?" The man smiled sadly, almost, and then they let him go. No threats, no conditions, just one file, placed gently in his hands. It was a single sentence on a data chip. "What you fear is not our power, but our reflection." He returned to the council, pale and quiet. He didn't try to convince them. He just showed them the chip and left the rest to them. Then something unexpected happened. One by one, fleets began to withdraw. Warships turned around. Border stations opened gates. Leaders stepped down. Some worlds held elections for the first time in centuries. Some gave freedom to the oppressed. Others tore down statues of tyrants. No orders had been given. No Terran threats made. But change swept the galaxy like wind through dry leaves. And the Terrans? They didn't stay to rule. Didn't ask for tribute. Didn't demand land. They simply drifted away. The tiny fleet, still looking like junk, turned slowly and vanished into deep space, leaving only legends behind. Some said they returned to Earth. Some said Earth no longer existed. Others believed they never came from Earth at all. But one truth remained. The galaxy bowed to a fleet it once laughed at. Not because of weapons, but because of what the Terrans made them see. And in that reflection, they finally began to change.